What's good, YouTube? It's Search Me Don't Hear Me. I'm here with a little segment about side decks. With this current format being pretty much a frenzy of anything, a free-for-all for basically any deck can just come into this format. As long as it got consistency, good hand control, and field control, you basically won the game. And before that was a lot harder because a lot more decks relied on skill. But because of cards like, tour guide, stuff like that, you know, it basically gives you a ridiculous pluses out of nowhere, and then combined with Leviar and combined with freaking Rescue Rabbit, it just ODs. But, I mean, Rescue Rabbit isn't really all that fantastic. I mean, there are ways around it. Freaking come host one of their Sabrosauruses or their whatever the fuck that thing is back to their hand, they can't do shit. But I'm not talking about those cards. That's not what this segment's about. This segment is about side decks. So, if anyone's wondering, if you checked, I'm gonna put like a link right about there. Yeah, I'll put it right there to my anti-meta duel with my buddy, who I still have no clue what the fuck he was running. Basically, I'm running anti-meta gadgets. So this is my side deck for anti-meta gadgets. I threw in a few cards at the last minute because I really had no clue what else to put in here. It's a great side deck, so let's just dive right into it. Limit Summon. Let's just do this separately. Limit Summon. Fuck. Limit Summon. Okay. Limit Summon. Sounds like a really bullshit card at first. You know, when it first came out. Limit your summoning to 2? Both players, only 2 per turn. The fuck is kind of shit is that? Well, think about it. Summon Tour Guide, Chain Tour Guide. Summon Tour Guide effect for Tour Guide. They can't do anything. No exceeding shuts them down. Then they exceed, that counts as 1. Then you summon Rescue Rabbit, that counts as another 1. Or just Rescue Rabbit, you know, Sabrosauruses. This card's great. It's really great against those decks. I don't know where my other ones were, but I definitely take out some other stuff for this card. Definitely putting more in. It's a great card. It shuts them down, slows them down so much, and paralyzes their deck for a momentary. But with 3 MSTs and Heavy Storm out and Dust Tornado, bye-bye. Next card. The next card that I side is Double DD Crow. With things, I really didn't expect a lot of things to be grave heavy, or at least grave reliant, if you really think about it. But it's actually really helpful, especially against TGs. If you're playing any deck, I highly recommend putting this and Limit Summon, which I threw over my desk, so I can't get it. Can't get it, at least not right now. But DD Crow is definitely an overall, any deck, you need to side this. If you don't got one, it comes common in the structure deck, I believe, of Dark World. Get at least 2. 2 is pretty much ideal. That's for me. 3, if you want. If you're noticing that you're not drawing this good enough, I draw this perfect timing. It's a great card. It shuts down all graveyard reliance decks, especially TGs, and especially things like if they go Reborn or if they do anything. It's just such a good card. I love it. So yeah, overall, any deck you can use this. Okay, this. Okay, you can't use this in every deck. Banisher of the Radiance. Never thought you'd see this card in a side deck anymore. Well, you do. It's so good because, like I said, things are graveyard reliant. I never realized it, but when you actually play, when you play people, you realize that they are quite graveyard reliant. And since you're running anti-meta gadgets, if you are a gadget player, you can't play this in Machine Gadgets, which I don't know why you would still play Machine Gadgets, because they suck. But if you're running straight up anti-meta gadgets, or if you're running offering gadgets actually too, aside from your Pot of Avarice, which becomes dead, which you do side out in replacement for this card, it's a great card. You can't put this in everything. Things I would probably put this thing in, definitely anti-meta gadgets. You could put this in offering gadgets. I think you can. I don't really have that much experience with that because I don't like meta. I don't like playing meta. The only meta I've ever played was Gravekeepers. Mad fun. I sold my soul to the devil when I played that deck. Topped many times and split many times because of it. And it was just so... And if you think about it, it's meta, but it was also an anti-meta deck because it shut down all graveyard-reliant decks. This, on the other hand... but that's basically how I play. I like to play against the meta because it's so many cards that just counteract everything, and this is one of those cards, and it's just so broken. 1600 attacker, 0 defender. Really don't want him in attack, and if he can become dead occasionally, but if you know how to play it right, he's not always dead. He's actually really good. Let's see. Next card. Debunk. Loving this card so much. I love it to the point where I'm thinking about upping it to 3. It's so beast and so busted. Shutting down Effect Veilers, shutting down Max C's, shutting down shit that activates in the grave. Stopping a TG flow is like stopping a gadget flow with an Effect Veiler. It shuts us down. If you're playing gadgets, if you're playing any deck really, you need to run this, especially if you're special summoning heavy. This is a great card. A lot of people like to side in. A lot of people like to keep their Effect Veilers. So this is a great way to side in against gadgets. I mean, against those things that specifically stop gadget's flow. And the gadget flow is green, red, and yellow. You know, Effect Veiler shuts us down. And if you only have one gadget in your hand, and they just Effect Veiler it, you have no out. You can't. Your flow just stopped, and if that was only monster in your hand, you can't do anything. So Debunk is an overall great card. Highly recommended. Any deck can play it. It's so busted, so broken. I don't know why you wouldn't play it. But overall, it's a great card. Next 2 cards. Very specific cards. Big Burn. I picked these up. They're supers. Very busted. Love this card. It's really good. Again, it's a very risky card, I might add. It's a very, very risky card because its effect is basically you can only activate it when your opponent specifically targets a card in the graveyard. Well, specifically targets a monster. So Reborn, and if you're playing against Hopeless Dragon, this is busted. They go Red Eyes Darkness target. Oh, sorry, everything in our graveyards are removed, by the way. It's so amazing. It removes all cards in both graveyards from play. You know how amazing that is to shut down what they can do? You're ripping off their targeting. And, you know, it's a great card. And think about it. When Torbus is released, don't you think you'd kind of like this card if you're running a deck that can run this? Like, I mean, you can run this in Psychics because, I mean, the old Psychics before Mind Master got hit. You can run this. And running this, shutting down, especially in things like gadgets, anti-meta gadgets, you really aren't graveyard reliant. You're barely graveyard reliant, and you side this out. You side Pot of Avarice out with this because it might get in the way. Great card. Very risky. Very, very risky. Only run it if you really think you can, and play test it with it. It's a great side deck card. I love it. One Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. I don't really see a lot of Dark Worlds. That's the only reason why I have one. That and I don't have another one. But, I mean, you don't see that many Dark Worlds, at least on my locals. Great card, shuts down Dark Worlds. Overall great trap, you can use this in anything. Triple Light Imprisoning Mirror, you can use this in any deck. Shuts down fairies. It's a really great card. I'd highly recommend using it. Not much to say, it's just so good. You can run this in pretty much any side deck. And lastly, the Chain Disappearing, sorry, I read that backwards. I'm obviously dyslexic. Chain Disappearance. I really like this card. The whole Summon Tour Guide, rip out the other 2 in your deck, remove them from play. Sounds pretty nice. But if you think about it, using this against someone like, you know, somebody who's running rabbits. You do this against rabbit, okay. Tour Guide, Leviar. Fuck. But I mean, I really do like it. It's a great card. It's pretty nice. I'd probably recommend taking these out I mean, you can use this in any deck again as well. Any side deck you can use it. I'd rather change these for Chain Destruction, which I kind of saw somebody use at my locals. It's actually, the more you think about it, it's kind of nice. A 2000, anything with 2000 or less, bam, gone. From the hand to the deck. The only one on their field. So they go Tour Guide and it goes to the grave. That's great. They go Rabbit gets removed. Gets sent to the grave. So it's dead in the grave until they can somehow get it back. So, it's up to you. But yeah, that's my side deck. Think about it. They're very specific cards, and I hope this helps you build your side deck. So yeah, peace YouTube. Yeah, that way.